Imagine a world where every form of entertainment, whether it be books, video games, or movies, is blamed for society's problems. Well, video games have been the subject of this unfair treatment for decades. Today, I will prove that violence in video games is not causing real-world violence among youth. This topic is relevant because millions of young people play video games daily, and it is unfair to blame video games for the violence in our society. It causes us to ignore the real causes of violence, such as mental health, family dynamics, and inequality in our system. Today, I will discuss three things: the definitions and context surrounding the video game violence, the threshold of evidence required to establish a causal link, and the real-world application of this debate supported by research and data. Well, to understand this argument, we must define the key terms, starting with violent video games. These are games featuring actions like combat, fighting, or other forms of aggression. On the other hand, real-world violence is physical harm or criminal behavior inflicted on others in non-virtual settings. Well, now that we've defined the terms, let's set the limitations for what this argument can reasonably be addressed. This argument excludes anecdotal evidence and focuses only on peer-reviewed studies, statistical data, and expert opinions. The goal is to present factual evidence rather than the emotional and rhetorical evidence. Limitations include no focus on other forms of media violence, such as movies or TV shows. We're only focusing on video games, and excluding outliers such as individuals with pre-existing medical health condition. Having established the boundaries, I'll now demonstrate why violent video games are not cause of real-world violence. First, there is no evidence to suggest a causal relationship between violent video games and real-world violence. A number of studies have investigated this topic, with researchers concluding that violent video games do not lead to increased violence. Christopher Ferguson in 2015 conducted a literature review in the Psychology of Popular Media Culture that cited several studies and found no relationship between violent video games and violence. He concluded that other socioeconomic factors such as family environment and economic status were important in predicting criminal behavior. FBI data in 2014 on mass shootings showed no statistically significant association between violent crime and excessive video game use. Instead, untreated mental health issues and access to firearms were identified as potential risk factors. A report by the Entertainment Software Association in 2023 found that as video games have become more popular, violent crime rates have declined among youth in the United States, suggesting that these games have little impact on national crime. Furthermore, violent video games may normalize violence. Contrary to the belief that video games encourage violent behavior, research shows that they are effective as a form of stress relief or relaxation for many gamers. A study from Villanova University in 2013 published in the Journal of Adolescent Research found that participants who participated in martial arts after experiencing traumatic events experienced lower levels of aggression than those who did not. This suggests that games can help others process their negative emotions in positive and constructive ways. Studies by Dr. Andrew Probisky in 2014 in Plus One showed that the root cause of conflict in sports does not come from aggressive behavior, but from the frustration of losing a match. These differences suggest that sports, no, not violence, is the primary driver of short-term negative emotions. Furthermore, studies have shown that many gamers view violent video games as an escape, providing temporary relief from life stressors. This type of therapy can help teens cope with difficult situations. Furthermore, correlation does not apply causation. Although violent individuals regularly play video games, this does not necessarily mean that the game is responsible for the violence. Other factors play an important role in predicting crime. Cheryl Olson in 2010, in her study published in the Journal of General Psychology, concluded that family stress, socioeconomic stress, and exposure to real-life violence are stronger predictors of violence behavior than human consumption. A 2019 study on violence and aggression found that pre-existing violence, like bullying or trauma, was a stronger predictor of aggression than media exposure, which is playing video games. The American Psychological Association in 2020 notes that while playing violent sports may increase violent behavior to some extent, it does not lead to violent behavior or long-term behavioral changes. Finally, young people are able to distinguish between fantasy and reality. The fact that video games encourage players to engage in violent behavior suggests that young people are unable to distinguish between digital entertainment and real-world consequences. But evidence suggests otherwise. The Pew Research Center in 2022 reported that 90% of teens who play video games understand that the nature of the game is consistent with what is appropriate in real world. Cheryl Olson in 2010 adds that video games often provoke interactions between players, which can lead to critical thinking rather than boredom. The Entertainment Software Ratings Board in 2023 assigns age-appropriate ratings to games, ensuring that violent content is targeted to mature and experienced audiences. This policy helps reduce children's exposure to potentially harmful material. By discussing these issues, it becomes clear that violent video games are not a cause of violence in the real world. Instead, they can serve as a stress reliever. Well, after hearing this argument, you should now support the idea that violent games do not cause real-world violence among youth. Well, today I proved three things. First one, key definitions clarify the context of this debate. The limitations ensured a focused, evidence-based argument, and empirical evidence demonstrated that violent video games are not a root cause of real-world violence. So, next time someone blames a video game for violence, remember the evidence tells a different story. Instead of targeting games, we should address the real challenges facing our society. Thank you very much.